Okay, welcome to this special edition of Go Vote Omaha, a candidates forum for Omaha City Council District 7, presented by the League of Women Voters. My name is Terri Crawford, and I am a co-policy director for the League of Women Voters and your host for today's program. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization, which means we do not endorse political candidates or political parties. Our purpose is to empower voters and to defend democracy. Go Vote Omaha primarily focuses on the issues as a result of discussions, and we hope that the viewers who will have an opportunity to view this forum will take this information and be able to make informed decisions during this election cycle. So the instructions for our candidates tonight are as follows. Each candidate will get a 1-minute opening statement, followed by questions that have been prepared by the League of Women Voters. Each candidate will answer every question and will have up to 90 seconds to answer. And then following all of the questions, you will also have an opportunity to do closing statements as well. There will be a timekeeper, and again, she will provide the information as to how much time you have left and then when you should stop. Before the forum, we normally say before the forum, we place each candidate into a hat, but since we only have two of you, we will just kind of alternate as to who goes first. And joining us today for our viewers' purposes, we have Sara Kohen and Aimee Melton, both candidates for City Council District 7. So we will start with a 1-minute opening statement, and Sara, we will start with you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm really happy to be here tonight. My name's Sara Kohen. I am a mom of 4, and I've lived in Omaha with my family ever since I graduated from law school just down the road in Lincoln at UNL. And I work with kids and families now as a school administrator. I'm running for city council because I care about our community. And I love Omaha. I am proud to call it home, but Omaha can do better in a lot of ways. And we got to do the basics right. So fixing our streets the right way, protecting public health and safety, but also working to help Omaha reach its potential, make it the kind of place where more people can achieve their goals and their dreams. And so collaborating with community partners to create jobs and provide opportunities. And I'm running because I want to work to make Omaha the best possible place for my kids and for all kids to grow up.
Thank you, Sara. Aimee, you're up next.
Oh, thank you. And I want to thank the League of Women Voters for doing this once again. Always appreciate the opportunity that you provide all of us candidates every election cycle. So thanks for having us and hosting tonight. I have absolutely loved being on city council for the last 8 years. I grew up in Omaha, moved here when I was 5 years old, and sent my children to the same grade school that I went to. Chose to come back here to raise my family, and I would like my kids to choose to raise their kids here. So over the last 8 years, I've enjoyed working with the mayor and working with all of the council members to try and make Omaha a better place. We've had some struggles, some things that we didn't see coming a year ago that I think we've all had to come together and really pull together for the community. Right now, though, it is looking bright, like it is behind me. We see the light at the end of the tunnel, especially with the vaccines, and everybody who wants to get vaccinated should be able to get vaccinated soon. So I look forward to moving on and would love to be your councilwoman for another 4 years.
Okay, thank you. So our first question, and we'll start with you, Aimee. What do you believe are the biggest concerns for residents of your district?
The biggest concerns for residents in my district really is the safety of their families. And when we talk about public safety, we aren't just talking about making sure that the police officers have the resources they need, that they can respond in a timely manner, that our first responders and our firefighters can respond, and that they have all the resources they need. But we're also talking about roads and infrastructure. We're talking about making moms feel safe when they're in their cars, and moms feel safe when their kids are walking to school. One of the biggest complaints I get is speeding, and it's speeding along in front of schools in the mornings. So really making sure that we aren't just having enforcement to protect our children, but we're also getting people to think differently about public safety. And I think if there's one thing that the last year has taught us is that we need to start thinking about each other more. So my number one goal is to provide a safer place for all of us in terms of not just public safety, again, with police, but with our roads and with our kids.
Okay, thank you. Sara, same question.
Well, yeah, so I'm out talking to voters every day. And the thing I hear the most is that people are tired of divisive politics and they want their elected officials to do a better job of addressing the issues that matter to them. So yes, certainly public safety. And we've seen some of these violent crimes go up actually in many of the past 8 years. And also things like fixing our streets the right way. And people are frustrated that our streets seem to be getting worse and that they were called on to pass this $200 million bond issue to address years of mismanagement without a real solid plan for changing the way we do things. And it doesn't have to be this way, and we can do better. You know, it starts with making sure that public works is adequately staffed and able to do important routine maintenance like sweeping streets and crack sealing. And, you know, we have to address some of the quality problems we've seen with contractors, things like the grade of cement and equipment and safety issues. There's a bad accident near 120th and Blondo just a few years ago. A work site wasn't set up properly and a young man became pinned between a couple of vehicles and got badly injured. And, you know, we need to stop relying so much on doing these temporary fixes over and over again. And, you know, I've heard about a 20-year street plan, but having multi-million-dollar bond issues, financed with additional property taxes every few years isn't going to solve our problem if we don't change the way we're doing things. It's not so responsible, and we do need to do better. And you know, Omaha does have a lot of advantages, and I think if we buckle down and pay attention to the details, we're going to do great.
Okay, thank you so much. Our next question is, Sara, we will start with you. What will you do to ensure a diverse viewpoint is involved in your decision-making process?
I think that if we listen to diverse voices and are trying to understand the viewpoints and experiences of other people, then we are likely to get to a result that works better for everyone. And so it has to start from a place of humility and knowing that you can learn something from everyone. I'm working to reach out to people of diverse backgrounds across the district, at their doors, on the phone, online, and learn what matters to them. And what I'm learning is that we do have a whole lot more in common than we have that divides us. And I'm also interested in hearing different perspectives and hearing about how city decisions affect different people in different ways. And just last week, I talked to 2 people in one neighborhood in the northwestern corner of the district who said that people drive way too fast down a main street in their neighborhood, and they're terrified that a pedestrian is going to get killed by a speeding driver. They've been trying without success to get the city to do a traffic study there. And I've also talked to people on the eastern side of the district who feel like they've been forgotten and left behind as the city has moved westward. And to be successful and to build a better Omaha, we do need to seek out and really listen to diverse voices.
Thank you, Sara. Aimee, same question.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we need to do is to continue to focus and expand and provide the resources that our Human Rights and Relations Department needs. Dr. Thompson has been the director, and he really has increased the amount of work that they're doing, reached out to people. And I think that's something that we need to focus on. That was a department that prior, I think, to my coming on to city council, when I came on, it was just this tiny little department that really didn't get any of the budget. Now we have hired people, we've hired additional people, and we need to continue to make sure that Dr. Thompson has what he needs to continue along with that diversity. I appreciate the fact that the mayor has now hired a diversity coordinator, has made part of her cabinet, so they can continue to make those connections. Personally, I enjoy working with the other leaders in our community, such as the Empowerment Network, and also on our city council meetings, making the ability for people to appear by Zoom permanent, so that you don't actually have to get down to the courthouse and to City Hall in order to make your voice heard at our council meetings. So I believe those are all things that we're doing that we need to continue to expand upon so that we can hear all the voices in our community.
Okay, thank you. Next, Aimee, you'll go first. We've already talked about what you believe are some of the biggest concerns for your constituents and those that reside in your district. So this question's asked, what do you see as the city's biggest challenges, and how would you address some of those challenges?
Well, I think some of the city's biggest challenges right now is recovering from the COVID. You know, there are a lot of businesses that have closed. There are a lot of businesses that are hanging on, especially coming down to our hotels. You know, the hotel industry was probably the hardest hit industry by COVID. Restaurants were able to, you know, hold on a little bit with the takeout business. Our bars were a little iffy, but it looks like some of them are coming back. But when we have things like Berkshire Hathaway, the College World Series that we count on every year, they bring in tens of millions of dollars into our community. We need to make sure that we're providing some of the resources that they need, expanding some of the EEA for enhanced, and I apologize, enhanced employment opportunity and the tax that hotels can do on their own in order to make up for some of that revenue, do the renovations that they need to do in order to keep those doors open, because we've got to have a place for, you know, people to put their heads on the beds when we get back to normal. We need to make sure that the people who lost their jobs or who are working two jobs right now to make ends meet, that they can get back to the jobs that they had. So we need to make sure that we're not just creating jobs, but making sure we're not losing them. And that's the most important thing moving ahead in the next year for the city of Omaha.
Okay, thank you. Sara, same question. You're up next.
So it's been a challenging year, and we've got a lot of challenges that we're facing as a community. And I think we need to look at how we can face them together, because one of the biggest challenges is how divided we've become politically. But I do have a great deal of hope that we can overcome this. I've talked to so many people at their doors who've said that they are tired of politics, of politicians who are too partisan and who try to score political points instead of focusing on the issues that matter to them. And frankly, something I hear as part of that is a lot of frustration with how, you know, with how, Aimee, how you've handled the mask mandate. And we're lucky here in Omaha. We have some of the world's very best infectious disease experts at UNMC and Nebraska Medicine, and we should have been listening to them from the beginning, but our city government was slow to act. We were the last of the 100 biggest cities in the country to have a mask mandate, which doctors told us was necessary, tell us is necessary to help keep people safe, kids in school, businesses open, so that we can move out of this and recover from the pandemic more quickly. And although we do now have a mask mandate, you voted against it 3 times and said things like talking about getting your freedom back, and invited someone to speak to the council who spread misinformation and talked about the number of deaths from the pandemic not being such a big deal. And we've got challenges, it's true, but we've got to focus on the facts and work to bring people together around finding common ground and solutions.
Okay, thank you, Sara. Sara, you'll go first on this next question. As part of the budgeting process, the council may raise the expenditure side of the budget by increasing, decreasing, or inserting or deleting appropriation items. Which areas may be priorities for you in the next budget cycle?
So a budget is a statement of our priorities, and we should make sure that we are investing city funds in ways that reflect those priorities. I will seek out information about the areas we should be prioritizing, looking at the data about what's working well, what could be working better, and listening to the people affected by our decisions. And I'm going to advocate for responsible, effective use of taxpayer dollars. And related to that, we need to make sure that we're making responsible city contracts, getting the services that we expect, and getting a good deal. And this frees up money for other priorities as well. Kind of looking back at the past couple of years, this new solid waste collection contract, it's approximately $2 million a year more expensive. than the other option. And we're getting less separate yard waste pickup. And that's something to hear a lot about from people in the district. They have too much yard waste, and they want it composted too when it's picked up. And so we're paying more for less. And these kinds of missed opportunities add up quickly. And I do think we have a lot of advantages as a city. So we need to make sure that we're paying attention and not losing sight of the details.
Okay, thank you. Aimee, same question for you.
Well, and first, it's an understanding of how the budget process works. We don't wait to negotiate those expenditures and where we want that money. We don't wait until we're passing the budget in August in order to do that. In fact, we start with those meetings with the mayor as soon as one budget is passed. I mean, the mayor is virtually working on the next one, but we really start those serious conversations in January, which I've already started with the mayor. The nice thing about the city of Omaha is we aren't Washington. We have 7 council members who all work together. We sit on our committees. There's only 7 of us, even unlike Lincoln, where they have so many different senators. We get to know each other. We are able to talk to each other. Our offices are right next door. And so we sit down together and talk about our priorities. And then we talk to the mayor. We meet with each of the department heads, and we talk to each department head about what those priorities would be, such as with parks, making sure that our trails are being kept up, working with the parks director in order to make sure we have the funds to do that, working with our public works director on different ways that we can manage the contracts that come before the council. But you do have to compromise, and that's the one thing that I think we do well. You don't always get what you want. You don't always get the contract that you want, but you ask for things and you compromise. So you might vote for, let's say, the garbage contract for FCC that the mayor wants, but you require the waste to have the yard waste be able to get picked up, and you work that back in. That's how we negotiate things in the city of Omaha, working together.
Okay, thank you. Aimee, this next question is for you first. Now, as both of you know, and we talked a little bit about it early on before you had an opportunity to sign on, Aimee, right now the George Floyd trial is going on in Minneapolis. So we saw that play out in living color across the country last year, but we also had some instances here in our own city that raised some issues that really require some discussion. So this next question is, what role should the city take to reduce racial tensions? And Aimee, you can go first.
Well, and one of the things that we've done, we always talk about having those conversations, but you actually have to make those conversations happen, right? Everybody says, let's start the conversation, but how are you going to start it? And one of the things I think we learned from last summer is there were people that wanted to be heard, and they didn't feel that they were being heard either from their city officials or from the police. And we had some of the riots, and we had people arrested, and there was some frustration there. But instead of charging everyone, we did come up with a diversion program. I worked on this with Matt Kuzi, who's our city attorney, but was our prosecutor at the time. And what we did is we came up with a diversion where we had some of the protesters who wanted to be heard sit down with some of the police officers in a setting, because it might have been the first time either the police officers have sat down with some of the protesters and truly been able to listen to them, and the first time when the protesters have ever had an opportunity to sit down with a police officer and hear about some of their struggles and what they care about. And so I think there's a lot of talk that can happen, but we need to make sure that we actually create the ability and the opportunity for the dialogue. And I think that's one example of the things that we have done. And now we need to kind of continue that. And I'm pleased that the Omaha Police Officers Association, Latino Police Officers Association, and Black Police Officers Association are willing to all work together to do that in our community.
Okay, thank you. Sara?
So, these are serious issues and merit serious consideration. So, we have some longstanding challenges. The legacy of redlining means that we do remain a city that is still quite segregated, with people of color more likely to live in neighborhoods without the same access to opportunities that residents of some other parts of the city have. And we should listen to diverse viewpoints. We should review policies and work to eliminate systemic bias where we find it, so that people of all backgrounds have access to education and good paying jobs, and to transportation options that help connect us. And we've come a long way. There's still work to do. One thing we definitely shouldn't do is go backward. And, I do remember being troubled at a council member this past November. Council member Gray was talking about the importance of bringing in more Black and Latino police officers. And that's something that many cities across the country are trying to do with good reason. And Aimee, you said you believe that trying to increase diversity there is itself racist. And I do think we need to focus on bringing people together around good policies and, avoiding rhetoric that could be divisive. And I think in making decisions that we need to keep in mind that we are one interconnected Omaha community, and we should continue striving to do better. It's the right thing to do. And it's also what we have to keep doing to keep Omaha thriving and retain our young people and attract employers and talent.
Okay, and that's time. I think we have time for one more question, and then we'll move to our closings. We touched on it briefly, but I'll go ahead and pose the question, and Sara, you're up first. So please explain your position on mask mandates.
Sure. So I think that when we're looking at any issue, and whether that's an issue of public health or whether it's an issue of how we're fixing the streets, I think that we always need to make sure that we're looking at the evidence, that we listen to experts about their areas of expertise, and that we bear in mind too the impacts of our decisions on everybody. And with this one, back in August when we first had a mask mandate introduced, and you know what the experts are still saying now, they say, we got to do this. We understand it can be a little inconvenient sometimes, but we got to keep people safe. We got to prioritize health. We got to do what we can to keep our kids in school. I'm a mom of 4, and my kids' teachers are amazing, but remote learning was hard, and I'm glad they're back in the classroom, and we need to work together to help keep kids in classrooms and to be able to keep businesses open. This is an issue that never should have been politicized, and it has, unfortunately. And so look, we don't want business owners to have to be in the position of saying something that is seen as political, right? We don't want to have to put them in that position. And we know an uncontrolled pandemic is bad for business. So it's one of those things where we have to say, let's look at the facts, let's see what we can do. And you know what? Let's try to get out of this pandemic faster and really work to get our economy restarted and help our community to really get back up on its feet and move out of this pandemic as quickly as possible. And vaccines are part of that. And, as long as the experts are saying, gosh, we still need to have a mask mandate to control the spread, then, that's part of it too.
Okay, that's time. Same question for you, Aimee.
Yeah, and by the way, we had asked Dr. Poor to do a directed health measure for the mask. That's what in fact, all 7 city council members preferred that happen. When that didn't happen, I believe Pete Festerson was the first one that introduced it. And so he introduced it in August, and we got that passed for schools to open. And that's what we heard. In order for the schools to open, they really wanted to see a mask mandate so that we didn't have the spread in the schools. And I voted for that emergency mask mandate. Now, what I think is we also have to be careful. You can say that masks help, and that's absolutely true. So does washing your hands. So does keeping a 6-foot distance. You don't always have to have a mandate in order to have a recommendation and ask people to follow it, because we're good people here in Omaha. We're good people here in Nebraska. So just because you don't think that there should be a government overreach doesn't mean that you're not recommending masks. In fact, I did a mask mandate in my own law office back in March, and we still have it. In fact, we have masks that sit outside of my law office so that people who are going to other offices, they can come grab a mask outside of ours. We're big believers in the mask here. But again, it's a balance between whether or not you should have the government mandate it or whether you should have the government highly recommend it and pass a resolution encouraging everybody to do it. I think good people will do what's right.
Okay. So we'll move to our closing. We started with you, Sara, with opening. Aimee, we'll start with you for closing for 1 minute.
All right. Well, again, thank you. Thank you, Terri. It's good to see you. It's been a while. I appreciate your time tonight. Again, thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting. My apologies for being a little late, jumping on computers nowadays, getting onto Zoom. You can never count on them. But I've really enjoyed being on the council. And the one thing that I do enjoy the most, it's working with all the council members. I work with Ben Gray quite a bit. We're always in each other's offices, talking to each other about different things and compromising, because I firmly believe that no matter what side of the political aisle you're on, the people on our current city council and our mayor, we all have the same end goal. We want to make Omaha a better place. Sometimes we have different ideas about how to get there. But when you have everybody who truly cares and you work together, you can get there. And sometimes you can get there better when you're having that dialogue with each other. So I look forward to staying on the city council for another 4 years and continuing to work with my peers on the council and work with the mayor. So thank you very much.
Okay. Sara, 1 minute for your closing, please.
Thank you. And I really enjoyed speaking with you tonight and to have this opportunity to share some of my views with voters. I think it's so important the voters know what's going on in their city government. And that starts with understanding more about the positions candidates for elected office are taking and the records of those who are already elected. I also think that voters should be able to make their voices heard, and that extends beyond voting, though that's important. Do it. If you live in District 7, please do reach out to me. I want to hear what matters to you. And I do believe that so much more unites us than divides us. Both now and as a council member, I will focus on the issues. I will work to bring people together around solutions, collaborating, because I know that Omaha can do better. I love Omaha and its people, and I know that working together, we can do better. And I can't wait to get started serving all of you.
Okay, thank you to both of you. Thank you so much. So this then concludes our forum for the Omaha City Council District 7 election. The League of Women Voters wants to thank both of you as our candidates, Sara Kohen and Aimee Melton. And for the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, my name is Terri Crawford. Again, I am co-policy director for the League of Women Voters, and I am reminding you, the viewers who will have an opportunity to see this forum, to make sure that you are informing yourself of the issues of the candidates, and make sure on April 6th that you go vote Omaha. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.